Hey YouTube, long time no see. I haven't made a video in a couple months, I think, or maybe just one in the last few months, but it's been an off season of a whole lot of non-stories and drama that really isn't worth it to me, so I'm okay with that. I read a lot in the off season, but there's not really a whole lot to talk about. But with training camp starting up and the Favre situation resolved, I think it's time to start talking about the Vikings again, and it's time to start looking at the NFC North again. So here I am. Couple quick words on Favre, and then I'm going to put that to bed because I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm glad the Vikings went for him, and I'm very okay with the fact that he ended up saying no. If the Vikings hadn't gone for him, then there would have been a lot of what-if questions. Why didn't the Vikings try? What if he'd have said yes? How many games might they have won? There would have been a lot of second-guessing in the future, but the fact that they went for him and he said no, that eliminates all of that. You can't say the Vikings didn't take a shot. And why did they? Brett Favre is a very good football player. He's a Hall of Fame, a surefire Hall of Fame quarterback. He had an excellent year 2 years ago and a very good start to his 2008 with the Jets. 70% completion rate, respectable touchdown to interception ratio, 11 games in. Yeah, I think he had something like 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. You couldn't not go for him. That said, it didn't work out, and I think Sage Rosenfels and Tavares Jackson are big boys and can handle it and are going to go out there and compete for the starting job. And may the best man win. I don't know who that's going to be. I think Tavares Jackson has excellent athleticism, great arm, and he's made some bonehead mistakes, but he still doesn't have a ton of experience starting. I think most quarterbacks, you can't tell how they're going to do long-term in this league until they have 25 or 30 starts. Jackson's got something like 19. I think he's played in a total of 25 games. So, I wish the Vikings had handled Jackson better from the beginning. It would have been nice to groom him a little more carefully and not put him out there to start so early. But when you've got Brooks Bollinger and Kelly Holcomb and Gus Frerotte over the years, you don't really have a whole lot of choice. It's not like they had a strong quarterback to put out front and let Jackson learn from the bench. But anyway, I think he's got a shot at success in this league, and if it happens, I hope the Vikings still have him because I'd like for them to cash in on this investment. That said, Sage Rosenfels, I think, is a kind of quarterback that could succeed in Minnesota. I don't think he'll be asked to do as much as he was in Houston, and I think that Minnesota's got a better defense, Minnesota's got a better running game, and they run a West Coast offense that thrives on short, accurate passes. Sage Rosenfels has a 65% completion rate. That's a lot better than Tavares Jackson's. And so Sage has the edge there, but the fact that there are two new starters on the offensive line could give Jackson the edge, and here's why. John Sullivan is a sophomore in the league and is going to be a brand new starter to replace Matt Burke. I think he's every bit as smart as Matt Burke, but he doesn't have the experience, and I think he can be more physical than Burke at the twilight of his career. Sullivan is a young guy, and so he's just going to be a better athlete all around, in my opinion. But there's a lot to learn on the field, and he's got to get on the field to do that. So I expect some mistakes, but I am optimistic that he'll do well. Burke did well in his first year replacing Jeff Christie, who had been a long-time stable at center for the Vikings when Burke took over. There's no reason in my mind to think that Sullivan can't do that, and unless I see otherwise, I'm going to assume that he'll do fine. But also you've got a true rookie at right tackle, Phil Lodeholt, and he's huge like McKinney, and I think he's going to be a good run blocker right away. And his long arms will make him decent at pass protection, but his big size, it's just hard to move as fast as a pass rusher when you're that size. So back to the quarterback race. The Vikings need to do a good job of protecting Sage Rosenfels to let him be an accurate passer and tone down his turnovers. If they can't do that by putting a Kleinsasser or a Chester Taylor or a Jeff Dugan in to help pass protection on the right, then I think they need to put Tavares Jackson in at quarterback who, if you chase him out of the pocket, he's a dual threat. So I think as the offensive line goes, that will determine who the quarterback is, which will determine what the offense looks like. It should be an interesting year. As far as the other members of the NFC North, I'm glad the Lions have got rid of Matt Millen, and they're starting to do some smart things in the offseason. I see them winning more games than they did last year, but no real threat yet to take the division. The Bears, they went 9-7 last year, yeah, but their defense did not perform as good as it did a year ago and as good as it did a year before that. So they're not that old on defense. People say they have an old defense, and Minnesota has a mostly young defense, but really it's about the same. I just think the difference is that the Bears' defense isn't getting better. It's getting worse. So I don't think Cutler's going to elevate that team, not in his first year, to the point where they can threaten the division, but we'll see. I also think that with the Packers, that they're not going to threaten this year. Aaron Rodgers is very good. Greg Jennings is very good. And that offense can score points, but they have trouble finishing games. They lose a lot of close games. And that defense was terrible last year. Switching to the 3-4 with Dom Capers is the best way you can do it, and I think that defense will start to look pretty sharp in the second half of this year. Fortunately, the Vikings play both of their games against the Packers in the first half of the season. So I just don't see him making a push this year. I think that defense could get scary in a couple years, but I'm not worried about it this year. I see the Vikings winning at least 4 division games. I'm going to call a win against Chicago, a win against Detroit, and a sweep of Green Bay. I could see them losing a game to Detroit. They almost lost either of their game against Detroit last year. And I can see them losing a good weather game in Chicago in December, because I think Cutler will have caught on to a lot of things by then, and they'll be hard to stop if the weather's good. If the weather's bad in Chicago in December, then the Vikings have a shot to sweep the division. Of course, I'm a Vikings fan, so I have to say that, but I see them winning 10 games this year, maybe 11, and I see them at least winning one in the playoffs. If they can do that, they can step forward from last year. I think it's a victory for the team. Love to see him do a Super Bowl this year. I don't think Pat Williams has a whole lot left in him, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. Those are my thoughts. Anyone wants to make comments or send me a message to my inbox or a video reply, anything like that, I welcome all that kind of stuff, and hope to start making videos regularly here now with the season just around the corner. So thanks for watching. Have a good day.